Hello, everybody. Dave Neal here, stand-up comic, host of Bachelor Nation News. Breaking news, Kaitlyn Bristowe is on a break, not from Jason, but from social media. She goes off the grid for 7 days. And by off the grid, basically that means the way the world was before a decade ago, right? The way the world was before constant 24-hour news cycles and social media updates. And we haven't heard from you yet. Are you okay? And don't get me wrong, my channel had a hard time uploading today's first video. People were messaging me, Dave, it's 10 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. Does someone need to go wake you up? No, I've been here doing plenty of work. Don't worry about me. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I'll be live on Patreon 10:30 a.m. this morning, patreon.com/Dave Neal. Behind the scenes content going on over there. I'm going to share with you the giant podcast, one of the top 5 or 6 podcasts in Bachelor Nation that reached out to me to interview me. So that'll be happening. I can share all of that with the Patreon because it's behind the scenes content. I've been talking about the network that, I was going to join, who it just seemingly isn't working out, and all of the behind the scenes of the payroll, as it were. So Kaitlyn goes off the grid. And people ask Jason, do you miss Kaitlyn Bristowe more than usual when you were gone since she's off the grid? He says 100%. So here's what Jason said. Then I'm going to share Kaitlyn's interview where she explains where she is, why she's doing what she's doing, and another example as to why I am probably her number one fan. So are you able to talk to Kaitlyn while she's gone? Proud of her for going. Jason said this, I am so dang proud of her. 7 days straight of going off the grid, away from friends, family, and work with the sole purpose of intensive work for personal growth is just amazing. She honestly never ceases to amaze me. To answer the first question, no, she's completely off the grid for 7 days. And then when asked if he misses her, he said 100%. So here's what Kaitlyn had to say in her recent interview on her podcast, Off the Vine.
As people out there are listening who are parents, how do we go raise our children not making these same mistakes?
The thing we have to remember when we become parents, if we're interested in that, is that actually your job as parents is to not protect them from this. Because they're going to experience this either way. You can love your child so damn much, and they're going to experience this. My parents weren't sitting there telling me anything bad about my body. I saw a photo and I made that because I had heard other things. Right? So you can do the best damn parenting in the whole world, and your child will experience wounds because that's life.
So Kaitlyn, of course, talks about in this interview she just did with Quitters podcast, she discusses look, I didn't have a horrible childhood. Why do I feel the way I do? And here's my thoughts directly to you guys, the audience. I think most people, I don't want to get in some trauma game, who had it worse. I think most people experience a heavy burden, and some people just sweep it under the rug. And Kaitlyn might be in a position financially where she can afford to look within and wonder why she feels the way she does. Some people have this, burden from their childhood from growing up poor. Some have it. Now, hold on, folks. You might not believe this. From growing up wealthy. Some have it from not having a dad. Like myself, I think I crave attention from a single mom who had to work nonstop. And then some people had a dad who maybe was too aggressive in how they wanted them to pursue certain sports. So we're all fighting some form of reaction to parents trying the best they could, but really not having all the tools in the toolbox. Here's what Kaitlyn had to say regarding her trauma and where she's going. And then afterwards, I'm going to play you a clip of the place right here where she headed to. And that's where she is right now. Not so you can stalk her, but just so you can get an idea of the type of work that she's doing. And then she gets to share that inspiration with her platform. This is the way the internet needs to be working. Have a listen.
All was me becoming a shell of myself, and he knew I had things going for myself and that I could do something, and he knew doing something would actually fulfill me rather than just following him. So I think it was guilt. I don't know if he was necessarily shaming me. I think he felt guilty for me having to live this life that clearly made me miserable.
And this was when Kaitlyn was dating a professional hockey player. So given the chance to blame the hockey player, she says, no. I was the one following him. He felt guilty that he was living his dream and I wasn't.
Kaitlyn, you end up in therapy, you end up on medication. I'm a huge advocate of all of the above, any kind of help that you can get mentally. It's so important. And I am very woo-woo about all of this right now. And I believe that when someone's tantruming like that and has lost themselves, it's really a younger version of you that's taken the wheel. It's some 5 or 6-year-old part of you that has literally just kicked the sensible Kaitlyn to the back of the bus and is just driving down the wrong side of the highway at 100 miles an hour. That seems to resonate with you. How'd you quit her? What was the process of making sure that you got back to the front of the bus?
Well, when I
Good
decided
question.
like I can only stay on this couch for so long until I'm like even more of a shell of myself. Like there was either go, I don't even know how you go more rock bottom than that, or pick yourself up and start going again. So I started working at a restaurant again. I had to like start as, which I'd worked my way up in a restaurant before, and like I was really not enjoying that time. And I didn't have any education except for high school. I thought I was going to be a dancer like my mom was, a ballerina, and I chose to go after a dancing career, quit that for the hockey player. So I was like, I have no education, no job, no money, like nothing. And so I started as a hostess again at the restaurant and moved my way up. And as I did that, I kind of had to put my ego aside of being like, okay, you have to start over as a hostess. Like, who cares? You're going to make new friends. I made new friends. I got an apartment. I started over. I built myself back up, and I did tons of therapy, tons and tons. And that's why I say when I went to go on The Bachelor, I had just done 3 years of like, I mean, twice a week therapy of learning where those patterns came from. And
It's almost like she was destined for greatness, but while she was on the couch, not doing anything, she wasn't feeding the soul what it needed to fly. That's what it feels like to me. I got to tell you, I know I'm barking up the same tree every single day here, but I am just so astonished by Kaitlyn Bristowe's story of resilience and where she's come from and how she's picked herself up and continues to do that work.
That I didn't actually learn coping skills as a child, and working through that. And then coming out of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, I was like, I got to continue this journey. And I'm actually going, I don't know if you've ever heard of the Hoffman Institute in California.
No.
But it is...
We'll check it out in a second.
Oh my gosh. It is a week of actually diving into your inner child. And
I'll tell you what, let's just go to see what they have to say. And by the way, if you haven't checked out my first video of the day, I actually had a sponsor in this video. I'm not going to play it for you right here, but I just want to let you guys know. If you haven't watched that video, go check it out, support it. It really helps me and it helps the channel, and it helps me make more content for you when we continue to get sponsors like this. So we all get to win from that. But anyway, let's see what the Hoffman Institute is. I've never heard of it before, but it's geez, look at that tuition. $5,350 for the week. Your tuition includes lodging, meals, snacks, more than 90 hours just eating snacks the whole time. Like, I love it. I'm off the grid. I'm eating cookies. Your tuition, yeah, I've been sugar-free. By the way, lost 13 pounds in January so far, just not eating sugar. Can you believe that? My mind feels amazing. It feels like I've got extra processors in there. More than 90 hours of professional instruction and guidance, individualized attention, all program materials, including post-process manual and recordings, and a post-process call with your teacher. So it kind of feels like we have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to detach from the things that provide us so much toxicity. Now, a phone is a tool. Social media is a tool. It can be used to help your career and help your life, and it also can be used to see how others are having success. And depending on how you look at it, we need to make sure there needs to be courses in high school and college and middle school and elementary school that teach us how to cope with these tools that were designed to sap our attention and give us these dopamine crashes. And anyway, the Hoffman process, and again, this isn't a sponsor, never heard of it before. The Hoffman Quadrinity process, wow, founded by Bob Hoffman in 1967, is a week-long cult, no, I'm kidding, residential and personal growth retreat that helps participants identify negative behaviors, moods, and ways of thinking that developed unconsciously and were conditioned in childhood. The process will help you become conscious of and disconnected from negative patterns of thought and behavior on emotional, intellectual, and physical levels in order to make significant positive changes in your life on a spiritual level. And I know some people go, geez, I don't have these problems. My general thought is that you don't get to address these problems. Look at it like a video game. You don't get to address your inner child problems and all these other issues you have until you're out of the deep end. Do you know what I mean? So many people are just scraping by. We're in the deep end. We're just trying to tread water and survive life. We're living off, the majority of our country has less than $400 in savings. It's just a travesty. And yet we aren't able to work on ourselves. Therapy's expensive. Who's got time to sit there and meditate when you're just trying to put food on your kids' plates? I totally can understand this. I mean, I take my wonderful and loving mother as an example, where in the sort of back half of her life, she's been able to have coaches and meditation sessions and community that help her overcome all of the things she had no time to process as a young single mom. And that's a beautiful thing, but the sooner we can get the attention our self needs to deburden, to release that. I mean, I'm not here to say that, like, obviously there's a lot of physical things we put into our body that can cause cancers. It can be genetic, but there's so much that we hold in as blockages in our body that when we release, we are so much healthier for it. And it's so important to ourselves, to our children, to our friends and family, to our lovers, that we keep feeding the healthy fire that's within, so that we don't pass down more trauma unnecessarily. Let's see what this video says here. I haven't watched it. I don't know if it's any good.
I knew I had some unfinished business.
It was exactly what I needed.
Feels like a cult.
Step in my life.
Probably not a cult.
I feel an ethical responsibility to tell people about Hoffman.
All right, so anyway, that's what Kaitlyn's doing. So this was before she went, so I'm sure we'll get more information about it.
And doing really deep, intensive therapy with no phone, no TV, no computer, no work, just a week of, and I did 8 to 10 hours of paperwork essentially online.
It sounds like the opposite of Bachelor in Paradise.
Like
Bachelor in Paradise, no phones, but all drama.
About my childhood, even though I can look back and say I had a wonderful childhood. I actually don't think it could have been better. I have 2 parents who were just incredible still to this day. But when you dive deep, it doesn't matter if you have big T trauma or small T trauma. Everything affects who you are as an adult from your childhood. And so I'm actually doing this retreat in January, at the end of January, because I'm still learning so much about myself and how, I talk therapy, I encourage it all the time. And
my therapist always says to me, because I had the exact same kind of life story as far as going, my parents loved me. They protected me. I had a very privileged childhood. Why the hell am I fucked up? There's no finger to blame in that way. And she said to me, the greatest thing anyone's ever said is death by 1,000 paper cuts is still death.
There you have it, folks. Well, maybe you needed to hear this video. Maybe you needed to just be a part of Kaitlyn's journey. We'll have to see how it goes. Wishing her all the best. She's been off the grid for a bit. Maybe she's back a day or two. Maybe she's back by now, but can't wait to see what she has to say on her podcast. All right, go check out that video I made earlier today, or this one now. Link in the comment section. And we will be back with more content right after this.